today I really don't want to do like a deep dive on sales and all of that. I wanted us to share the story of someone. And hopefully from that story, maybe we can pick a couple of lessons. So my first question to you today, and I hope that it's interactive. My first question is this. This is pronounced Jochebed. Jochebed. How many of you have heard about this before? Has anybody heard about this name before? Yes. Don't use AI. If you use AI, I will know. Who's Jochebed?
It's a name in the Bible. I think Moses' wife or something.
No, Moses' wife was Zipporah. Mm-hmm.
I can't remember.
Okay, good. I would have sent you a 5,000 naira recharge card if you got it right. So Jochebed is the mother of Moses. Jochebed is the mother of Moses, and I really would like for us to talk about her today, because I mean, everyone here, we are, with the exception of a few men, we are all women here, and I would call all of us mothers, irrespective of the fact that some of us have children, some of us don't have children. Biologically, we are mothers because we are able to reproduce, okay? So, why Jochebed? Why this woman? A lot of apologies to you, ma. I just want to read something quickly in the Bible so that you would have a bit of a perspective to what I'm talking about. So now in Exodus chapter 2, real quick, it's not a long scripture. Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, go, she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this baby, nurse him, and I will pay you. Note that I will pay you. So the woman took the baby and nursed him. And when the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of water. So when I was told that I was going to come and talk here, I kept on thinking about the example of a woman who was a salesperson and who got payment for her service. That's why I said, and I will pay you, because Jochebed got paid for taking care of her son. And if you think about this story, it's phenomenal, because I know all of us, we know the story of Moses, right? We just don't know the name of the mother, right? So what happened? Just a quick background. There was a time the children of Israel in the land of Egypt, they were reproducing so fast, and then Pharaoh wanted to kill all the male children. And while he was contemplating that, he told the midwives and said, anytime you go to the Hebrew women and they're giving birth, make sure you kill them. The Hebrew women said, before I get there, boom, they've given birth. And then again, he now made a decree that all male children should be thrown in the river Nile. This is important. Note it, Nile. And I'm sure that there were lots of male babies that were thrown into the Nile, right? And then eventually, Moses was born. Moses' mother knew that Moses was special, and she kept him for 3 months. And afterwards, she couldn't keep him again. And then she now went to put him in the Nile. But she changed the way she put him there, right? And eventually, she asked his sister to stay there and watch, right? And then Pharaoh's daughter came, saw the baby, and because Pharaoh's daughter had a need that she could not fulfill, she got someone to fulfill that need and got paid for that need, right? And this is who we are here. We have, and every time that I'm talking, I want us to always think about Jochebed. I want us to think about there is a service that we have, right? All of us here, the friction that we have, the problem that we have is that we have a service that is supposed to be a need for somebody else, and we need that person, that Pharaoh's daughter, to pay us for that service. How? How do we do it? This is the question that we want to answer in today's class. That's all. If I'm able to help you to be able to understand that, then I think that my job is done. You can start with this. We can start with the first slide now. So I called it the Jochebed Strategy. Right? So I have explained it to you, right? I've explained it to you. No, that's not the first one. Yes. So don't forget about the jargon. So first, basically, it's how an oppressed mother compelled the world's most powerful empire to finance her operations through positioning, technology, proxy, and IP preservation. That's it. Okay? That's the Jochebed strategy. And that's the strategy that all of us here will try to use. How can we here? We go to the marketplace, and in that marketplace, we have Pharaoh's daughter there, right? We have strong people, we have influential people. Mrs. Charity Babatunde just said something now about some Pharaoh's daughter, right? They're powerful people that need our services, but how do we position ourselves to make sure that these people pay us for that service? Okay, next slide. So I wanted to talk about the narrative. I think I've already spoken about it. I don't want it to be too complex, right? So you remember, so we have in sales, you have your environment where you are selling, right? And in that, the environment is hostile. So that's the historical narrative. The Nile River. If you've seen the Nile before, you see that. So I went to Kenya recently, and I saw a river in Kenya. It's called the Mara River in Kenya. But that river gets its source from the Nile in Egypt. I was shocked when they told me that. Why am I saying this? The Nile is a very, very big river that distributes water to all sorts of sources across this continent, right? And have you seen a river before? You know, a river is bubbly and rushing and all of that, depending on the time of the season. Sometimes it's going one direction, other time it's going another direction. And that's what the environment that we live in, that's how the environment that we walk in and we sell in looks like, right? It's hostile, it's dangerous, and the assets that we have, right? You faces competition, right? Everyone here, you have in that Nile environment, we have competition, right? Competition that can stifle your business. Competition that can crush you, right? Sometimes you have a product. Here, remember, Moses was the product, right? You have a product in the marketplace in the Nile, and that product is sometimes, let's say, you're selling a mobile phone. This person will come and say, this phone costs 10 naira. Another person will come and say, the phone costs 1 naira. Mrs. Charity alluded to it. She said that in her Nile, which is the environment in which she works, that when she gives her pricing, some people will say, it's too expensive, and they will go and look for somebody else. Do you remember that? And I'm sure that this resonates with every one of you as well. You have a business, you say, okay, this is how much it is, I'm selling this service. People will say, what's it want you? And then go and look for somebody else. So that's the historical perspective. I want us to think about it and marry it to that Moses' mother, Jochebed. Okay? Then the founder and the assets. All of us here, we are all founders. We have assets, right? So Jochebed had an asset, had a product, but she didn't have the legal backing, right? Forcing her to construct a specialized container to preserve the integrity of her product. Okay? So you remember that there was a decree already that all male children should be killed, right? And this is exactly the same environment that we work in as well. The one story I remember clearly is the story of Ope. I don't know if you remember that at some point in this country, Ope had O-Ride. It was Okada, right? And the government made a regulation to ban all Okadas in Lagos. That killed that business automatically, right? So, do you recall what Mrs. Charity was saying just now about her business as well? She was talking about data protection. There's a law now in Nigeria that you have to have the capacity to protect other people's data. If she doesn't make her business compliant or her product or her asset compliant, the government will shut it down. You have tax. As a founder, you need to be tax compliant as well, right? Tax people will come to you and say, okay, this is the business that you're doing, this is the revenue that you have made, this is the profit that you have made from that revenue. Where is the tax that you have paid? If you have not paid tax, they can seal your office and all of that. Okay? So in sales, we need legal protection. Okay? And then there's the buyer. You remember Pharaoh's daughter was a very, very powerful political figure, right? In this instance, she was the buyer, but she was not pregnant and she was not lactating at that time, right? So even though there was a little baby that she saw, a 3-month-old baby she wanted that baby, but she didn't have what it takes to take care of the baby, okay? And this is where we come in as salespeople, right? Or as entrepreneurs. Because everybody, irrespective of who you are, let me just pause. One fact that we must all understand is that irrespective of who you are, either you're an entrepreneur or you're just anybody, you're always a salesperson. Always. It's either you're selling a good or a service, or you're selling yourself. There's some people here today that have never met me before. And as I'm talking now, there's a certain projection I'm making to you, right? Either I know it or not, I'm selling myself to you. You're either thinking, this guy, the way he's talking, does he have sense at all? Or every time that you interact with people, you're selling yourself. Okay? You don't have to go for an interview. When you meet somebody, anytime you meet somebody, the person opens his mouth to talk. You know, this person, you have a conscious bias about that person, and you start to make decisions in your mind about that person, right? So, we are all salespeople. even as entrepreneurs here, all of us, a lot of people say, I don't like sales, I don't want to do sales, blah, blah, blah. They think sales are the only people that you see on the road who are selling to you insurance with very dirty collar. That they are, people. I see a lot of these insurance people on the roads of Lagos selling insurance. They are tired, looking worn out, they haven't drank water in a while, they're exhausted. Those are not salespeople. They are salespeople, but every single person on this earth is a salesperson because you're always selling yourself. So you have the buyer's dilemma. The buyer's dilemma is simple. There is something somebody out there needs that they cannot get, and they need you to help them fulfill it. Okay? So this is a historical perspective. If you come to the modern business equivalent of what happened in the past, right? You have, we've talked about the market, right? In this small auditorium that we're in, there are probably one or two of us that will be doing the same thing. So it means that the market is volatile, the competition is high, and you have to be able to position yourself well and distinguish yourself. I'm not going to go into all of that because Mrs. Charity had already spoken about those things, right? The things that will make you become excellent in the work that you do. Okay? So there's also something that we need to also understand. In technology, we call it intellectual property, right? And I think that it's very important that we all know about our IP. Because everybody has one IP or the other that they are carrying around, either in their head or in their product, but they're giving it away for free. They're not monetizing it. Okay? Jochebed had an IP, right? And she was able to monetize that IP on a monthly basis. Okay? She got, even though the boy was her child, but she was able to get the princess to be paying her every single day for something that she produces free of charge, right? Think about it. We're going to get there. And then the enterprise opportunity, which is the opportunity that you are looking for. How are you able to put together your assets? How are you able to put together your product so that people are paying you on a regular basis for that product? Okay, next slide, please. So we're talking about pillars, right? That will allow us to do what we have to do in terms of selling. Okay. So sales is solving people's problem. I think that's pillar number one. So if you want to really, really sell, okay, it is solving someone's problem. So what does that tell us? It means that we need to identify a problem and figure out how we can make that problem disappear. Again, we go to Jochebed. Pharaoh's daughter had a problem. The problem was that she could not lactate and take care of a baby. Jochebed found a way to solve that problem. We will look at how she did it now. So, strategic proxy. I read it. I read the story, the background story, but I don't want to go into it anymore. But did you remember that in that story, there was another young lady there called Miriam, the sister of Moses? Yes? Okay. So, Miriam is your strategic proxy. Okay? You deploy technology, social media, and digital funnels as your Miriam proxy to the pipeline so that you can have there's something called founder fatigue. If you are the one doing this every day, you're the one talking every day, you're the one going out every day, you're the one doing this every day, you will get tired, right? And Mrs. Charity alluded to it, that you cannot do everything by yourself. You need tools, okay? So, proxy. this, which is social media. We will delve a little bit into it, okay? And then we talked about the IP. If you have an IP, right, the best way to monetize your IP is to do what you call an IP leasing model. So basically, let me give you an example from my life. So we have 2 dogs at home, and my daughter really loves the dog, and a lot of times, because the dog stress me out, sometimes I tell her that this dog, I'm going to use it. I just threaten my daughter sometimes. When dogs are misbehaving, that this dog, I'm going to use this one to, this white one, I'm going to use it to make pepper soup for you, and you will chop it and all of that. But they need care, and I can't provide the care for them. Okay? So we decided to hire a vet. The vet understands this IP leasing model, right? A vet can come to your house. You can call a vet and say, my dogs they're not eating today. I don't know what's wrong with them. They're just looking. And you know dogs, if a dog sees you today, the dog is jumping and happy and all of that. If you see your dog and the dog is not jumping and is not happy to see you, you know that there's a problem. So you can call a vet and the vet come to your house and check the dog and give the dog an injection. Why? They're using the IP, it's the intellectual property, the knowledge that they learned in university to figure out what is wrong with the dog, treat the dog, and the dog gets well. You pay them once and they disappear. But there are some vets who know how to lease their IP, right? What do? When they come to your house, the dog is not feeling well, but they will come and say, let me treat this dog today. The dog gets well, but let me be coming to your house twice every month for the rest of the life of this dog, and you'll be paying me on a monthly basis for taking care of this dog. That's what it means, IP leasing model. So one vet will come to your house, give the injection once and disappear. That's it, right? He sold his IP knowledge only once, and he cannot monetize it again. Another one will come and say, let me be coming. Either the dog is feeling well or it's not feeling well. Let me be coming every month, twice a week. Like the vet which I just hired now, he told me that every month, he's starting on the 1st of September. Every single month, twice in a month, he will come to the house and just check the dog, bathe the dog, make sure the dog is feeling okay, and I pay him every month for the rest of the life of the dog. That's IP leasing model. And that's the way we need to be thinking as a business. I was sitting at the back there when somebody said that they do nails. So how can you use nails in terms of how can you do this in terms of IP leasing model? Nails, right? Have you thought about using technology to tell certain people, a lot of ladies like to get their nails done on a regular basis, right? Get to somebody, a customer, and say, let me be doing your nails for you for the rest of your life, right? And I'll do it for you once every month. We sign a contract, and I'm the one that you will call when there's a problem. You want to remove it, you call me. You want to fix it, you call me. There's another style that is in town, you call me, right? You want a business that you can generate recurring revenue from. And it's not just from one person only. If you're able to do it for multiple people. Let me give you another example. So today, before I used to sell hardware. If you go to the bank before and they tell you to come and do your biometric, I used to sell hardware, okay? But I figured out that hardware, once you sell a hardware to a bank and they come to tell you to come and do your, once you enroll your BVN, you can only enroll once, right? And that's it. And the hardware is just there. Sometimes new people come, maybe a child that just clocks 18 wants to register a bank account, he comes and then he buys, he does the enrollment. But I figured out that selling software for this same thing is more, is better because it's a recurring revenue. So once you sell the hardware, that's it. They pay you your money, put your money in your pocket and you exit. Okay? But now I sell software. In the software that I sell, and I don't know if some of you use OPay here, or you use PayPal, or some other technology. So there's something called a 3D liveness detection, right? 3D liveness detection. So if you're initiating a transaction, do you notice sometimes if you use OPay, maybe you're in another location and you want to send an amount of money, the app will tell you you should verify yourself again, right? Good. Every time you verify yourself, I get some money in my pocket, right? Which means before we just sell hardware only once, and I take the money away. But every time now you do that verification and re-verification, I get paid. That's what it means, right? Recurring retainers. Recurring retainers. I want us to always think about that. And then premium pricing. Premium pricing. If we refer back again to this lady, this Jochebed lady, I think that she was an extremely smart woman, right? She got premium pricing for something that she could have done for free, right? It was her son anyway, right? But she positioned herself in a way that the princess of Egypt paid premium pricing for that. And you know, one of the problems that we have as business people is that and the word premium is very important. We sell our intellectual property short. We sell ourselves short. And I was happy that Mrs. Charity came before me because she said something that I need all of us to pay a lot of attention to. She said, when she gives people because she knows her cost, she knows her base model. You yourselves as entrepreneurs, you know your base model, right? You know your cost, you know the cost of the goods that you buy that you want to resell to the customers. Again, we use nails. You know how much it is you bought the acrylic or whatever. I don't know how the nails industry work, but you shall know the cost, right? So if you tell someone, if I come to your house, you know the cost of transportation, you know, this is how much it's going to cost. And the person says, what's it want you? There's this fear in your mind that maybe they will go to another person and then your premium pricing, you kind of bring it down. I think that you always sell yourself short. So if you have a good product, right, and you know the value of a product, never sell yourself short of your premium. Okay? So let's just go through the next slide. I'm not going to talk too much about that. Okay. I think I've spoken about this. So again, Pharaoh's daughter saw an opportunity. She wanted that product, but she already automatically knew that she cannot take care of this product. So she needed somebody else to take care of that baby for her. Let's talk about Miriam here. We'll still go back again to social media and all of that, but let's just think for a moment about how Miriam influenced that purchase. So there are a number of people here, there are a number of players here from the story that we read. There's Pharaoh's daughter, there is Jochebed, there's Miriam, there's the Nile, there is the slaves of Pharaoh's daughter who found the basket. There's also Moses inside of the papyrus basket in the Nile. Let's dwell quickly on Miriam. So, when I read that story, Miriam, Moses' mother, positioned Miriam there. You know, she's a young girl. She never have understood the assignment by herself. Okay? So there was a way that the mother of Moses positioned Miriam by the river. One thing I saw with Miriam is that she understood the assignment and she understood the timing. She understood the assignment and she understood the timing. And it's very important to us as salespeople as well. There are some times that when you see a client, so let me give you an example. Let's say I'm selling Zobo, and there's a target that you see a client, and you say, you can go to that person, maybe that person is on the call, say, Montazobo, and walk away, right? That's a way to let your client know that you're selling Zobo, okay? But you can be like Miriam and think about the appropriate timing. Watch your target. This person is on the call. Walk past. You can even, maybe the person is saying, oh, money last much exercise and a geometry. What I say. You get that information, you put it in your head, right? When the person is done with the telephone call, you go meet them politely and say, I hear that I was just I'm just walking around and you overheard your conversation. It wasn't as if I was eavesdropping, but I know that you said you want to do some exercise. Have you heard about hibiscus leaves before? And then you talk about the health benefit of hibiscus or zobo, and you say, oh, I have zobo here. I can give you one, you can try it, and then you can come back next week and give me some feedback. Who do you think, from the first person, Montazobo, and the second person that had that conversation, who do you think that the person will listen to? Second person. Okay. So let's go back to Miriam. Timing is important. So Miriam was there when she was there when Pharaoh's daughter went to have a bath, right? She was there when the slaves of Pharaoh's daughter picked up the baby from the Nile. She saw it, but she didn't move, right? She could have said, that's my brother. You know, I mean, as a young girl, she could have said that, but she waited for the right timing. She waited until she heard that the Pharaoh's daughter say, this boy is one of the Hebrew children, right? And then she jumped out of where she was staying and said, can I help you get somebody who can take care? Can I get in? She didn't say, my mommy. She said, because she would have landed in trouble. You remember there was a decree, right? That environment was not conducive. That was why Moses' mother had to hide the baby. And that's what I'm saying when it comes to sales, is the appropriate timing and the appropriate response. So let me also give you an example. Let's talk about insurance. How many of you buy insurance here? You buy insurance. Tell me, what insurance do you buy? Don't tell me car insurance, though. Okay, life insurance, fine. Great. You see, if you do a census of people who buy insurance, you see that there are very, very few people that buy insurance. Because why? In Nigeria, we don't have that thing in our mind that insurance is very good for you, right? And it's the way that insurance people project themselves, okay? So if we don't, so you can buy car insurance, you can buy life insurance, you can buy whatever insurance. In fact, you can insure your building, you can insure your land. One time like that, my brother bought a phone and he told me that he insured his phone, right? So that if it drops and anything happens to it, he gets his money back. But my experience with insurance people is that they are too aggressive, right? And there's no track record of people that I know, that you know, who maybe get their premiums back if something happens. I have a friend whose driver drove the car and crashed the car. right? And this was almost a year ago. She had that car fully insured. And when she went to the insurance company, it was one story after another, after another, after another. So, why am I saying this? If you are a salesperson, you don't want to be like the insurance person. Credibility matters. Mrs. Charity said something. She said that you must under promise and over deliver. Did you remember? Yeah. Under promise and over deliver. If you want to go and take somebody's money and say, I'm going to make this cloth for you in 2 days, make sure you make it in 1.5 days, not 2 days. Right? If you know you're not going to be able to make it in 2 days, never promise that. Okay? Let's move on to the next slide. Very good. So, you know, we're talking about Miriam, and we were saying Miriam was a type of media proxy. Okay? I know this is a lot of grammar, but I just want to quickly explain what this means. So, and I'm happy that we already had conversations around how you can use social media to help your business. Okay? So, the Miriam proxy, which is, do you know that Miriam was the social media that allowed Mrs. Jochebed was hiding somewhere. She deployed social media technology, Miss Miriam, to speak on her behalf to the daughter of Pharaoh, and she got feedback from Miriam and got the job. Let me tell you something. If Moses' mother, Jochebed, had been the one at that river, you know that the outcome would have been different. The outcome would have been completely different. Why? Because Pharaoh's daughter can see Jochebed and see her and say, this woman, I know that you just had it, but you just gave birth, because the baby was 3 months old, right? She can tell that you are lactating. She can also tell that you are the mother of this baby, and the outcomes would have been different. So, what do we learn? Deploy social media in your sales activity. So when we say low latency, what does that mean? Right? Latency, if you say latent power, is something that has a potential but has not yet developed. Okay? So, social media networks gives decreasing latency, meaning that you have the information that you have has the capacity to move faster. Okay? So, higher bandwidth also means that you can deploy that information. One person can help you broadcast that information over a wide area of space, right? Digital space, right? And then increasing footprints, meaning that you can deploy that information over a number of you can reach more people as well. Okay. So when you deploy technology, there is exponential spreading, there is avalanche effect, cascade effect, echo chambers, feedback loops, algorithmic targeting, and consensus disruption. I know it's a lot of grammar, but let me just explain in a very few sentences what it means. So here, look at this. Let's look at this figure. 1, right? This is 1. If you 10x this, if you multiply this by 10, what does it become? 10. Okay? If you multiply this 10 by 10, if you raise it to the power of 10, this is the exponential. What does it become? Good. If you raise this to the power of 10, what does it become? That's what social media does. That's what it means by exponential spreading. Yes? Clear? Good. So, an avalanche. This is an Oyibo. It's people that have snow that see a lot of avalanche. Okay? So, it means a small event triggering a bigger event. That's what you say. When something goes viral, right? When you want to sell something and you tell another person and then you tell another person and then it goes viral and everybody knows, right? It's a type of avalanche. So imagine, let me not go too much into it, but that's exactly what it is. Okay, you have an avalanche of, you can say an avalanche of snow, for example. Okay, but exactly that's what it means. Then cascading events, cascading effect, right? Something cascades into the other. It means it rolls and rolls and rolls. You tell this person, that person tells that person, that person tells that person, that person tells that. It's cascaded. Okay? I can tell you something now and say you can cascade it to the rest of the class, right? That's it. And this story, this Jochebed story, I'm sure you've never seen it like this before, but it can be a cascade effect. Okay? And then echo, we all know what an echo is. As I'm talking now, you're hearing my echo. If we were not in a closed place, this thing I'm saying can echo and somebody else outside can hear it. All right? Feedback, which is very important for your social media network because you need to get feedback about your product, and that feedback gives you the capacity to improve your product, better improve your product, right? And then algorithmic targeting. So that's a big word in technology. So an algorithm is just a program that is written that, I'm trying to figure out the right word now. The algorithm spies on you. That's the right word. So every time that you're on your phone, every time that you're doing something, it checks what you're doing, right? And it records it, right? Let's say I went on whatever. What's the name of that Nigerian e-commerce hub? Konga. Let's say I went on Konga and I bought this today, right? Konga has an algorithm to figure out that I bought this pen today. If I go back there tomorrow, it can show me a different variety of this pen and say, last week you were looking for this pen. This is another one. Do you like it? Right? That's basically what the algorithm targeting means. And then consensus disruption. So when let's say this pen goes viral, you have seen it. You know this pen is a red pen, right? But all of you consensus. There's a consensus between the two of you to say this pen is not red; it is actually black. That's what consensus disruption means. It means the information that you have gotten, you decide amongst yourself that this is the information, even though it might be something that's completely different, right? It's a way that you can use social media to change the mind of people, right? To get, is that my phone? No. Okay. So, the politicians use this a lot. If you remember the last elections, when the presidential election in Lagos, right? Peter Obi won Lagos, right? Was it the presidential or no? It was presidential. Peter Obi won Lagos. Immediately, there was a consensus disruption. Immediately, right? Sanwo-Olu had to buckle his belt and had to start to go everywhere to talk to everybody. Before, he thought that he was going to get Lagos on a platter of gold, right? But that consensus disruption made him work extra harder. Do you understand? Great. So, next slide, please. Okay, so we've talked about the retainership model. We've said that in sales, the best way to make money is not to sell your product just once and be looking for another person. Is to figure out a way to do a retainer. Okay? Just like Jochebed did. Next slide. Next slide. Next one. Okay. So all these things that we have been talking about, how do we even operationalize it? You know, sales is very practical. So, I mean, we can start from here and talk from now till tomorrow. You have to practicalize it. What I would, in a situation like this, I would have loved to call one or two people out and to let them talk about what they do and speak to us and think and speak to us how they can make something, the product that they sell, how they can sell it on a regular basis, you know, and not just a one-off selling, on a retainership model, okay? Okay, yeah, maybe we can do that. One or two people. If you have a product that you are very confident in, and you think that you can put this product on a retainership model, we can do a practical, just 2 minutes, just talk about it, and I can tell you whether it makes sense or not. And the whole class also can be the judge. No wrong or right answer, just be confident. And another thing about sales is that you have to be confident as well, you know. Remember Miriam, remember the timing too is important and all of that. So anyway, I think we've talked about point 3. We've talked about point 4 as well, your pricing structure. We've talked about social media, and we've talked about 1 as well. We said that you must analyze your target well. You need to know that these people, they have a particular problem that you want to solve. I think that's the first place. Next slide, please. Okay. So, just as a roundup, I want us to understand that you shouldn't allow the market to convince you to discount the value of your intellectual output. And we do that a lot, right? That's why we are not. Dr. Funmi Johnson was talking about 100 million revenue, right? If you're pressurized by the environment to always sell lower than what your real worth is, you will never be able to hit that revenue target. Okay? Okay, there are just a few lessons that I put here, just a recap of everything that we have been talking about. Just a few of them. Can you start? Perry, thank you. So, the first lesson. We always talk about, if you're selling, right, there's always a constraint, right? Who can give me one example of a constraint to selling here? It's there. Objection. What? Timing. What? Budget. That's the first thing that should even be on your mind. Because every time you want to sell something, the person says, what do you want you? Or you want to sell to an enterprise and say, sorry, we don't have the budget now. Okay? So, lesson that we learn is when a customer has a constraint, right? Budget, regulation, infrastructure, procurement rules, blah, blah, blah. You must ask yourself the question, how can I design my solution to work within that constraint? That's what Jochebed did. The constraint was very high. All male children should be dropped in the Nile. Yet, she kept her baby in that Nile. Do you understand? So, she used that constraint to her advantage. She used that law to her advantage. You know the people who wanted to kill the babies and drop them inside of the Nile, they will never go to the Nile to go and look for a baby there. Do you know that? So, number one, never let a budget constrain you. Never let, don't let anything constrain you. Find a way around the constraint. That's number one. Number two, don't sell against an incumbent. In the business world, there's something called price wars. Right? Nobody wins a price war. Nobody wins a price war. It's only the customer that wins the price war. Have you noticed the guys who sell cement in this country? Have you noticed that there's a way that they've increased the price of cement recently, right? Have you noticed that sometimes they will lie and say they will bring down the cost of the cement? It doesn't happen, right? So you can't sell against the incumbent. What you need to do is to understand your own product and understand the value that your product brings, and then sell within that ecosystem. Okay? So, interventions. Every time you want to sell, right? You cannot create. You sell in a particular environment, right? But you have to be able to create an intervention to allow you to sell in that environment. I said here, Jochebed did not build a new river. She uses the same Nile that Pharaoh the Creator used to kill the babies to preserve her by creating an intervention, the basket, right? What is your intervention as a salesperson? What basket can you create to keep your Moses in it? What basket can you create to keep your Moses in and to keep your Moses is your product, to keep your Moses alive, right? What basket can you create? Okay? Good. Number 4. She didn't just have courage. In fact, sometimes, as a salesperson, you are afraid. And that's just the truth. Okay? Sometimes you are afraid, but you need to have courage. All right? But more than courage, you need to have a plan. And that's what Jochebed had. Okay? She hit him. No. So, she had a plan. Plan number 1, she hid him for 3 months. Plan number 2, she knew that she could no longer hide him again. Then she built a basket, waterproofed it. You know, when you hear basket, you can just think, basket leaks water, 100%. If you don't waterproof your basket, your Moses will drown in the Nile. And the Nile crocodiles, they are the biggest crocodiles in the world, by the way. The Nile crocodiles. Okay? So you need to waterproof it. Whatever that means to you, waterproof it. And then she put Moses in a specific location. In her plan, she knew that Pharaoh's daughter usually goes to have a bath there. Right? You need to have a plan and positioning. So she positioned the baby where the princess will see it. Okay? She also positioned Miriam where Miriam could interact with the princess. Okay? And I was saying it earlier on that she must have schooled Miriam on what to say. When the princess shows up, don't say, "Hello, Moses, how are you? Oh, see my brother." No, that will land you in trouble, right? Don't say, "I'm the mother of this child." No, say you know someone who can take care of the child. Okay? So, do you remember Mrs. Charity was saying something about contingency planning? She didn't mention contingency, but she says backup of a backup, right? So, you need to have a strategy, you need to execute it, and you need to have a contingency. Thank you, Perry. Next slide. We've talked about timing, right? Miriam understood timing. She watched the princess appear, made a careful offer, right? She didn't say, "That's my brother, give him back to me," right? That would have been serious trouble, okay? And Jochebed also knew when to stop doing things by herself. when that baby was 3 months, she knew that she couldn't take care of this baby alone anymore. She knew she needed an external power that is greater than her. As a salesperson, when do you realize that you need help? When do you realize that you need somebody else's expertise to leverage on, and so that it can help you with your sales is important. Okay? Great. And then, this is very important. This is lesson number 7. Never build an opportunity around one champion, right? Jochebed didn't build an opportunity around just one person, right? She created multiple layers. There was Jochebed, there was Miriam, there was Princess Pharaoh, and there was Pharaoh's household. Yeah, I'm almost done now. Next slide, please. That's another thing. I think that Mrs. Charity alluded to this. The person with the most power doesn't necessarily make the decision. Pharaoh was the person that had the most power in the land at that time, right? And it's important that you understand that as well as a salesperson. You want to sell something to someone, you need to understand who the most important person is. It doesn't necessarily have to be the person that has the power, like Pharaoh. It can be Pharaoh's daughter, right? Every time I read the story, I always ask myself, why did Pharaoh even allow Pharaoh's daughter to bring a Hebrew boy into the palace? It's just because Pharaoh was fond of his daughter and he indulged his daughter. So really, the true power lied in the hands of that daughter, not in the hands of Pharaoh. When you're selling, you need to understand where the true power lies. Sometimes it's not in the hands of Pharaoh, it's in the hands of the daughter of Pharaoh. Okay? Finally, constraints can reveal opportunities. Constraints. And, every time there's a decree, and it happens all over the world, every time there is a constraint, right? Every time there's a problem, there are people who walk away and mint money within that problem. Every single time. It happens all the time. So, always understand that when you're selling and there's a constraint around that selling, you must automatically, don't say, and walk away. No, think about it. What is the opportunity? I told you about, and then finally I said, hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. And I know that we because of our background in Christianity or religion, we're people, and Nigerians as well, we are people who we are hopeful people, right? But that's not a strategy. This woman, this Jochebed, if you read her story very well, you know that she was a Levite, right? They were the people that God said, you must serve me, right? But that wasn't her strategy, right? She had a plan, right? And that plan eventually yielded for her. So much so that you can see in the story that she got the most powerful family in the world at that time to pay her on a retainership for what they had decreed that they were going to kill. Think about it. Think about it. All of us here, all women here, we are all Jochebeds. We are all Jochebeds. What will you do in your business? What plan would you put together in your business to ensure that you are able to create an opportunity for yourself, to use your assets, to use your product, to use your intellectual property, and get retainership, constant money, over and over and over, irrespective of what anybody says, even if there is a presidential decree that says you must not sell Zobo, how will you circumvent it, right? In the right manner to make money. Thank you.